Hersheypark has been on a knack for adding some big coasters in the past couple years, with the addition of Candemonium and the brand new entrance in 2020, and the recent addition of the absolutely massive Wildcat's Revenge. You have to wonder, what is Hershey going to do next? They've poured a lot of money into refurbing and adding a lot of new rides, and I must say, I think they're going to take a break. I know that might disappoint a lot of people, but I just don't think they're going to add another coaster for another 2 to 3 years. But when they do add another coaster, what will that coaster be? That is exactly what I'm going to be talking about in this video. Today, we're going to be ranking the top 5 choices that I think Hersheypark could go for if they wanted to add a new coaster. And we're starting off with a pretty far-fetched category. Yeah, I don't really know what Hersheypark could do to fit a Giga Coaster. I mean, their best shot would be with Candemonium instead of Candemonium, but they decided to go Hyper. I don't know if that's something with like the township and stuff, but I don't think this is quite in the picture, but it is definitely possible. But the flying coaster is pretty interesting as well. I could see them maybe putting this in Chocolate Town, maybe, but the thing is that they have something very similar in Great Bear, and I just don't think that they would go for a flying coaster when they already have Great Bear. I mean, it is kind of different with the flying aspect, but I just don't know if this would be their next choice. I could see them maybe doing this down the line, maybe in 20 years or so, but definitely probably not as their next coaster, but who knows. Okay, so this one is dependent on a couple of things. First off, whatever Dorney Park gets next year, and second off, what Dorney Park gets next year. So, Dorney Park is rumored to get a B&M dive coaster next year, which I think could eliminate most of Hershey's efforts of putting in a dive coaster. So, I think if Hershey was ever planning on putting in a dive coaster, I think that if Dorney did one first, then Hershey would either have to make theirs taller and faster, or they could put in a tilt coaster. This is very similar to the dive coaster, except, of course, it tilts and holds you instead of you just cresting the drop and then the dive coaster holding you. That's pretty much the only difference. I could see them putting in a tilt coaster in Tidal Force's Plot of Land, because I could also see a dive coaster going here as well. I think a tilt coaster here would work very nicely. I think they could make a very compact one. I mean, Vekomas are and can be pretty compact, so I feel like this could happen. The only thing that's kind of questionable is if Dorney Park doesn't get a dive coaster, I don't know if this would be as good of a choice for Hershey. I think they would rather go for a B&M dive coaster if Dorney didn't get one, because they are more reliable and just probably overall a more well-known ride. And I think it would be more of a GP crowd pleaser as well. I think that if the relationship with RMC goes well at Hershey, I think there could be a good chance that we could see a Raptor here. Now, where it could be, I don't know. Maybe in Chocolate Town, but I have my eyes set on another plot of land. There is a small collection of water slides right by the Wild Mouse plot of land that I could see them getting removed and getting refurb soon. This is because they opened way back with the water park for the 100th year anniversary of Hersheypark. They would move the new water slide complex to the existing plot of land where Wild Mouse sits on and remove the ride. I think that if they were to go this route, I think they would save the station and then have a little space behind the station for an RMC Raptor to go through. I think this would be a very cool idea. The old Wild Mouse station being used for a single rail, then the lift hill going up by the old water slides, and then kind of coming down right by Granny Bugs, and in that area, they could even remove the Granny Bugs and stuff. I don't know, they're kind of removing a lot of rides for this. They could probably find some way to fit it in. I don't know, but on the return route, it's pretty easy. Just have it go back through the water slide plot of land, maybe have it do some sort of weird maneuver through there, have it come behind the station, go into the Wildcat Revenge catering kind of circle around there, and then come back over the pathway into the brake run. I could see this working. It's just there is kind of a space issue with Hersheypark, which is kind of the downside of this idea. Now, this is one that I could very well see happening. Even if Dorney Park does get a dive coaster, I could still see Hershey putting one in Tidal Force's plot of land. Tidal Force has a massive plot, And if Dorney Park has theirs at like under 150 or so feet, I think that Hershey could go for a dive coaster and just make it taller than Doherty's and kind of like make that happen. I don't know. But Tidal Force has a pretty large lift structure already. I think that they could reuse the station and, have the lift hill steeper so it can get up higher and just follow the same path as Tidal Force's lift hill structure. That would kind of make for a unique dive coaster view. And I think there is enough room to fit a decent-sized dive coaster layout in this plot. I do think they could maybe extend it into the water park a little, but like Hershey, it's like very tight on space, so I don't know. It would probably be a shorter dive coaster lengthwise. They could make this a decently large coaster, just like Tidal Force is a pretty decently large water ride, so I could see this happening, but who knows. I do really think that the number 1 spot is the most realistic, though. I definitely think that this is Hersheypark's next roller coaster. I think there is no way that they don't go for a family coaster next, and I also think that there is a pretty high chance that it will be a multi-launch coaster. If it is a family multi-launch, that will fill in 2 miniature gaps in Hershey's already stacked lineup, and they could fit this in Chocolate Town pretty easily. There is very big plots of land still in Chocolate Town that are open, and I think that this would keep families in Chocolate Town longer because all you have in there right now is the carousel. I think something along the lines of Big Bear Mountain, a straddle coaster, or even other smaller family multi-launch coasters could really benefit the park and Chocolate Town. I really also think that this would be a good crossing path from Super Duper Looper to Lightning Racer. This ride would be a little more intense than Super Duper Looper, but not as whippy or as intense as maybe Lightning Racer would be. I really do think that this is a perfect place to get a multi-launch coaster. I do think that Hershey will get this as their next coaster. Now, when I could see them adding this, maybe 2025 or 2026, definitely not next year. Maybe in 2 years, but I don't know. They've been pouring a lot of large investments into their park. I wouldn't be surprised if in 2025 we saw maybe some flat rides added. 2026 would be their new coaster. Who knows? But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.